Yes, I do, Cleveland. All right. Hey, Danielle. How are you? Very good. Well, I appreciate it's the mom vote is the most important. I'm aware of that. Right. We all need to be. That's a good demographic for us. Right. Well, look, I think we are in this sort of bizarre, it does feel as if there's this, and we were talking about this before, is every week we'll say a week unlike anything we've ever seen in Washington, and but there's some things that are the same too over the last few years. So on one hand, yes, there's this tumult that President Trump has brought, but then you look at Congress is still as gridlocked as ever, and it seems as if the parties are acting the same way as they always have, and none of them know how to break this. So one of the things we're actually trying to do this week on the show is try to get at this root cause, because every week we sit there and say, geez, the Russia investigation is heated up, the president seems to be angry about it, there's people that are leaking on him inside the West Wing, the Republican Party's pushing back, the Democrats are nothing but an anti-Trump party, and we're sitting there going, we're in a wash, rinse, repeat mode here in this first 6 months. I want to spend a little bit of time getting at the root cause, and among the root causes are the fact that both political parties are broken. They're essentially nothing more than shells to elect cults of personality, and they have stopped figuring out how to be organizations that govern, and I think that's what we're seeing. Look, there's two ways. On one hand, we cover you sort of, if we're umpires, you're umpiring the game that you have, not the game that you want. If you're so at the end of the day, I'm covering the politics that are. Is it our job to say, no, this is the politics we want? There's sort of a fine line there. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to draw some lines, have some guardrails on decorum and things like that. I think there are some colleagues of ours who are viewed as members of the media, but they're agenda driven. They're not necessarily they don't want to be a referee. They want to be a player on the field. And I think that's where all this gets blurry and conflated. Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that. We're actually delving in this a little bit later today as well, and I encourage people to take a look at something we're going to be posting. There is the news consumer of today can choose their own narrative now, and so I think people are so siloed in that if they're on one side and wear one jersey color, they see everything is awesome, and if they wear another jersey, they see everything is awful. And the fact is there's no gradations anymore, there's no nuance, because the everything are awful people are paying no attention to what the everything is awesome folks are seeing or saying, and vice versa. The issue really is that we've got to figure out how to agree upon the same set of facts, and that's hurting us here a little bit. There's only so much we in the press can do. That's a civic responsibility at the end of the day. Right. I'm glad that you asked it that way. It's more of a tool than anything else. What do U.S. attorneys or special prosecutors in this case, and Robert Mueller, he has the same power as a U.S. attorney would in this case. A grand jury is a tool for investigators in many cases. It's a tool to get more information. It's a tool. You use a grand jury to compel witnesses to testify. You use a grand jury to compel witnesses to give you financial information. Sometimes it's not a witness, it's an entity and things like that. So this is an investigative tool. He's been using grand juries throughout Washington, D.C. For weeks to, for simply to maybe get a financial record here or a financial record there. So I do think we got to be careful overhyping the existence of his own grand jury. It is a tool. It would have been a surprise if he weren't using a grand jury. How about that? That's probably a better way of looking at it. That would have been news. That's right. Well, that's the thing. You're going to see indictments, but are they going to be directly connected to this investigation? Or is it going to be like we saw what happened with Bill Clinton? It starts in one place, ends in another, but there were still some indictments. Does it start in one place? That's where you don't know where this investigation is headed. All right, Danielle. Thank you. I feel like, do people have more airtime to fill? They've all been longer today.
That was...
Yeah, no, but they weren't the only ones. I mean, I don't... Okay, no, but